What's going on YouTube? JT is Reborn here, and welcome back to another edition of my Godzilla comic book reviews. And in this video, we're going to be talking about Godzilla vs. America, Godzilla vs. Texas. This is another entry in the Godzilla vs. America series, and this time sees the King of the Monsters going around the great state of Texas. Yeehaw! What's so great about dumb old Texas? What did you say? There's my little SpongeBob references in there. But yes, Godzilla has made his way into Texas. There's several storylines in here. This is an anthology thing. So usually these anthology books, I mean, some of the storylines are a little bit lesser than others, but, you know, it's just a fun excuse to kind of have Godzilla in different scenarios depending on the state he's in. So I mean, we've had LA, we've had Boston, we've had Portland, we've had Chicago. But no, like, I mean, what is Godzilla going to show up in, like, Michigan or something like that? That's what I'm waiting for. I mean, I haven't seen him do that in any capacity yet, so that's something I like to see. You got the Great Lakes in there. You could kind of travel around in there, so give me that IDW as a comic book. I've been a loyal customer for many years. I want to see Godzilla attack Michigan and all that. Let's see all the fun you can do with that. But anyways, so this is Godzilla versus Texas. Several storylines in here. The first one is deep in the podcast of Texas. This is story and artwork by Matt Frank. Matt Frank's did a lot of Godzilla comic books over the years. Fantastic artist. Had the chance to meet him too. Was a pretty chill guy too. Then you have Crude, which is the story and art by Kevin Draft. Godzilla vs. Texmech, story and art by Joe Eisma. And then You Missed It, story and art by John Lucas. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4 storylines right here. The first big one is the Matt Frank one. And yeah, it's basically some podcaster who basically considers Godzilla, quote unquote, like, I mean, they don't say it outright, but basically like fake news or whatever. And this is all a lie created by so-and-so conspiracy theorists and all that too. Artwork is strong. It is a Matt Frank comic book, so you know the artwork is going to be really good. I did like Godzilla's design here with the dorsal plates and all that too. It's a design I wouldn't mind seeing kind of integrated like in future stuff, because Matt Frank's drawn Godzilla in many different ways, but I don't know. I like the dorsal plates right there with the black and the little white edges on them, and then kind of his face right there too. But hashtag Godzilla is not real, and this podcaster, just no matter what happens, every chance it's like, okay, this is pretty substantive evidence, he just refuses to kind of let it go, and all the way up until like his place gets destroyed, and he still doesn't believe the whole thing. Godzilla also fights a monster here, which I'm like, is this supposed to be like the giant claw? It looks like a giant vulture that kind of spits acid or something like that. Maybe it's kind of something like that. But yeah, the action scenes at least look pretty good, and basically they're like, hey amigo, do you need some help? And that's basically kind of where the storyline ends. So no matter what happens, this guy's still believing in his like crazed kind of conspiracy thing angle. So there's that. I mean, the artwork is great. The storylines, I mean, they kind of run the whole thing, like, it goes a little bit far in some ways. And what I mean by that is, like, despite everything, the guy still refuses to believe it. And I guess that's kind of the point. And, you know, you can probably, like, read into who he's kind of poking fun of with that particular, like, storyline right there. But nevertheless, the artwork is at least pretty good. Godzilla looks cool. And I guess there's kind of a funny gag at the end there. So that's probably the most substantial one of the bunch right there. The next one is a storyline called Crude, and basically have these big oil tycoons, and they're, you know, trying to quarter the market, own all sorts of aspects of the city, but then, you know, even across like the countries and all that too, but everywhere they go, Hedorah kind of follows and sucks up like the pollution and all that's kind of released from all this oil and gets a little bit stronger. Even then they try to go into like the renewable energy thing, because, you know, it's limited resources when you have oil and all that too. So, but Godzilla shows up, they get into a bit of a battle, and basically karma kind of comes for them in the end, I suppose, with them all being kind of destroyed at once. So that's that storyline. Then we have the next one, which is Godzilla versus Texmech. And that's this robot named Texmech, which has the whole mustache and has a whole like rodeo attire right there. And he's like, this town ain't big enough for the both of us, Godzilla. So Godzilla has to fight basically like a cowboy robot, which I didn't expect to be talking about today. But hey, you know what? At least it's kind of playing fun with, you know, playing around and having fun with the whole Texas concept. You have like basically trying to wrangle Godzilla like some sort of cattle. I guess he has like a giant oversized version of the lasso of truth, because if you look at this thing, it's glowing like that Wonder Woman has. So maybe he stole it from Wonder Woman or something, and it just grew to giant size. Or maybe it's made of the same material. I don't exactly know. But he tries to wrangle Godzilla, kind of gets beaten up a little bit, but Godzilla's like, all right, I've, you know, satiated my appetite for destruction for today. I'll kind of let you go. And it's like, oh, yep, bye-bye, Godzilla. And then that's kind of that one. I don't know. That was kind of a fun storyline right there. And then the final storyline is basically about the Austin, Texas kind of music scene. And Godzilla hates that country music or whatever they're listening to down there. Like, he's basically like the Grinch. He's like, all that noise. And he basically just kind of has enough, destroys a bunch of stuff. And yeah, like I said, he doesn't really like the Austin like music scene. So I guess Red, White, and Boom is Godzilla vs. America. Is that kind of where we're going right now? Oh, no, that's what was that I was looking for? Yes, that's basically the anthology of this book or whatnot. So you have Chicago, Boston, LA, Kansas City. So I've covered the bunch of those right now. Probably the Chicago one's maybe the one I like the most or kind of remember the most. But yes, we got looks like a trade paperback here and all that too. But yeah, so that was Godzilla Rivals versus America, Godzilla versus Texas, and all that too. Again, it's an anthology book, so you kind of just have you don't expect the greatest Godzilla storylines ever made. It's kind of more like, okay, let's just kind of have fun with the concept of Godzilla in these different cities, and they throw in a bunch of different things in there. The Matt Frank one, I think, Matt Frank's artwork is really strong there too. The podcasting thing, it just kind of it kind of runs it a little bit into the ground for me, because it's like, okay, you would think after the first or second thing, the guy would be like, okay, all right, I was wrong or something like that. But even by the end, he's still just going to kind of believed that Godzilla isn't real, despite literally showing on the news. I guess that's kind of the gag right there too. But the storyline, it was just, okay, I suppose. I mean, it's in Texas, but it's more about a podcaster. The second one with the oil thing, that one was kind of all right. I think the one I liked the most was probably Godzilla, the Texmech, because that was just kind of playing around with the fun, kind of, I guess, stereotypes of Texas. The fact that Texas has this giant, cowboy robot with the whole, they actually built the mustache, too. I thought that was kind of fun. I don't know, that one kind of played around with the concept of Godzilla in Texas and had the most fun with it. But I do think the first storyline with the artwork is, the strongest, the best looking of the storylines. The fourth one, Godzilla's basically just the Grinch in that one, just is tired of all that noise, and then just kind of does his little bit of destruction right there. So that was kind of fun. But overall, it's an anthology book. I have fun with these things. I go in with not as high of expectations like I do, say, if I'm covering the Kaisei books or the Godzilla Rival books or whatever, because they're just trying to take something with the landscape of where they're set and just try and tell some different stories about it, more in tune to people, I guess. I guess depending on which storyline, if you're maybe from the areas or the states that these storylines are taking place, you'll connect with them a little bit more than somebody who's more of an outsider. Now, I have been to Texas before. I have some family members who live there, but it's been since, God, I can't even tell you how long it's been since I've actually been in Texas, probably since I was a kid. But yeah, like I said, the one I kind of got the most kick out of was the Godzilla fighting the robot. But the first storyline, there's a little bit of comedy there, which kind of works. But, it just kind of goes on a little bit too long with the joke for my liking. But it does get us Godzilla fighting some other monster, which that's kind of cool. And I'm like, is that supposed to be a tribute to the giant claw? But yeah, so there you go. Those are my quick thoughts. The second storyline with Hedorah and that, it's just kind of okay. And the fourth one, also kind of okay. Not much really with those ones, other than Godzilla just kind of destroying a few things and all that too. So I don't know, out of the Godzilla vs. America series, I think compared to some of the other recent IDW titles, I don't think has been the strongest of the bunch, but I gotta look at it as just kind of a fun little anthology thing. If you go in that expectations, you'll probably enjoy it. At least you get some nice looking artwork kind of throughout the four different storylines, and a few kind of little fun aspects with Godzilla in different parts of Texas. But the one I enjoyed most was Godzilla versus Texmech, and then probably the podcast one. And then after that's kind of up in the air between the Hedorah one and the Godzilla in Austin and the music scene and all that too. So, but all things considered, like I said, if you're into these types of storylines, this is probably for you. But for me, like I said, I enjoyed it enough. But compared to some of the other IDW titles, I don't think this one's been quite as strong from a story standpoint, or even kind of playing around with the whole idea in Texas. The one that kind of the podcast thing could have really been kind of anywhere. But it just happened to be in Texas with some destruction. At least the other ones kind of felt more in tune with the states, at least, for my liking. But anyways, I've rambled on long enough. What did you think of this issue? Did you like it? Did you dislike it? Post your comments down below. Be sure to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the YouTube channel for more content. I got one more comic book review for today, and then I got I got to finish catching up with that Monarch stuff, which I know I've been saying for a little bit, but I've got to actually finish editing that video. And then after that, I'll I'll be all caught up with videos for the week. So, but, you know, I still, like I said, if you're a Godzilla fan, check this thing out, judge it for, you know, judge it for yourself, I suppose. But, yeah, I'm just, you know, giving my quick thoughts on it and seeing if I liked it a lot more compared to the other ones. I don't know, like I said, I don't have as high of expectations with the Godzilla vs. America series as I do some of the other things, but anyways, all right, I've run on long enough. As always, take care now, bye-bye then, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace out.